The sky above Earth burned red as the alien ships appeared. They came without warning, massive vessels that blocked out the sun over every major city. Commander Tae Kwon stood in the command center, watching the screens with cold eyes. He had seen war before. 30 years of fighting between Earth's nations had taught him everything about combat. But this was different. This enemy came from the stars. The alien message came through every communication device on the planet. Their words were broken and harsh, translated by machines that barely understood human language. They called themselves the Valthari Collective. They demanded surrender. They promised quick deaths to those who resisted and slavery to those who obeyed. The message ended with a simple countdown. 1 hour to decide. Tae Kwon smiled. It was not a kind smile. He turned to his officers and gave one command. Battle stations, all of them. Across the Earth, military bases roared to life. Soldiers who had fought in the Mars Rebellion moved with practiced efficiency. Pilots ran to their fighters. Orbital platforms charged their weapons. The Valthari expected fear. They expected confusion. They got neither. Captain Ji Hana strapped herself into her fighter cockpit. Around her, 20 other pilots did the same. Her squadron, the Raptors, had survived 3 major wars. They knew how to kill. The targeting systems came online, showing the alien ships hovering above Seoul. They were big and slow, probably designed to intimidate ground forces. Perfect targets. Raptor Squadron, this is command. Tae Kwon's voice came through her helmet. Show them what happens when they threaten Earth. Ji Hana grinned and pushed the throttle forward. Her fighters screamed into the sky, followed by her squadron. Within seconds, they broke through the clouds and saw the alien vessels up close. The ships were covered in strange armor that shimmered like oil on water, but armor meant nothing if you knew where to hit. All units, target the engine sections, she ordered. Fire on my mark. The Valthari never saw them coming. Human missiles struck the alien ships before their shields could activate. Explosions ripped through 3 vessels, sending them crashing toward the ocean. The remaining alien ships scattered, trying to return fire with beam weapons that moved too slowly to track the human fighters. On the ground, Dr. Sung Min-ho watched the sky battle from the Pacific Command Medical Center. He was a scientist now, but 10 years ago, he had been a combat medic on Mars. He had seen men die and learned to keep working even when the world burned around him. His skills would be needed again soon. The first alien troops landed 2 hours after the initial attack. They came down in drop pods that smashed into the Korean countryside. The pods opened and soldiers emerged, tall creatures with 4 arms and gray skin covered in technological implants. They carried energy weapons and wore powered armor. They moved toward the nearest city with confidence. They walked straight into a minefield. The explosions tore through the first wave of alien troops. Those who survived found themselves under fire from human soldiers hidden in the forests and buildings. General Bae Hyun-woo had spent 3 decades learning how to kill efficiently. He had turned the entire region into a trap. Fire at will, he commanded from his tactical center. Don't let a single one reach the city. The battle was brutal and short. The Valthari soldiers had better armor and weapons, but they had never faced an enemy like this. Humans used the terrain, striking from cover and disappearing before the aliens could respond. They used traps and ambushes. They targeted officers first, creating chaos in the alien ranks. Within an hour, the entire landing force was dead or captured. One alien survived the massacre. His armor was damaged, and one of his 4 arms hung uselessly at his side. Human soldiers dragged him to a transport vehicle and brought him to Dr. Sung Min-ho. The creature's translator device still worked, though it sparked and hissed. You will all die, the alien said through the translator. The collective has conquered 17 worlds. You are nothing. Min-ho looked at the creature with curiosity rather than fear. 17 worlds, he repeated. Tell me, did any of them fight back? The alien was silent for a moment. Some resisted at first, but they learned. They always learn. I see, Minho said quietly. Then you've never fought anyone like us before. He was right. The Valthari had conquered worlds of peaceful traders, scientific colonies, and agricultural planets. They had never invaded a world where war was a way of life. They had never faced soldiers who had been fighting each other for 3 decades and had become very, very good at it. Above the earth, Commander Tae Kwan watched the tactical displays. The Valthari were regrouping their fleet, probably planning another attack. Good. Let them come. Every satellite, every orbital platform, every ship in the Earth Defense Fleet was ready. His communication officers were already coordinating with forces across the globe. Sir, we have casualty reports from the ground engagements, an officer reported. And, Taekwon asked, minimal on our side. Enemy forces eliminated or captured. Taekwon nodded. He had expected as much. The Valthari had made a fatal mistake. They had expected to find a peaceful world, maybe with basic space travel and primitive weapons. Instead, they found a planet full of warriors. Every nation on Earth had put aside their differences within minutes of the invasion. Old enemies became allies. Weapons that had been pointed at each other for decades now turned toward the sky as one. Captain Ji Hana returned to base with her squadron intact. She climbed out of her cockpit and looked at the alien wreckage burning in the distance. This was just the beginning. The invaders would come again, probably with more ships and more soldiers, but they would learn the same lesson. Humanity did not surrender. Humanity did not break. Humanity fought. That night, the Valthari broadcast another message. This one was different. Their leader, someone called Quorath, spoke to the human commanders. His translator was better this time, and his words were clear. We underestimated you, he admitted. But this changes nothing. We have destroyed entire civilizations. Your resistance only delays the inevitable. Taekwon responded personally. His message was broadcast across every Valthari communication channel. You came to our world expecting slaves. You found soldiers instead. Every human on this planet has lived through war. We have fought each other and survived. Now we fight together. Come again if you wish. We will be waiting. The message ended. In command centers across Earth, military leaders prepared for the next attack. Factories that once built weapons for human wars now turned their production toward new threats. Engineers studied the captured alien technology. Soldiers trained with new tactics designed specifically to kill Valthari troops. The invaders had awoken something they did not understand. They had attacked a world that knew only conflict, a species that had turned war into an art form. The Valthari collective was about to learn a hard truth. Humanity was not prey. Humanity was the predator. The Valthari returned with 10 times the force. Their ships darkened the skies over 3 continents, and their drop pods fell like rain across Southeast Asia, Europe, and North America. This time, they would not underestimate the humans. This time, they would crush them with overwhelming numbers. General Bae Hyunwoo watched the enemy landing from his command bunker deep beneath Seoul. The screens showed thousands of alien soldiers spreading across the countryside, supported by war machines that walked on mechanical legs and fired plasma weapons. It was an impressive display of force. It was also exactly what he wanted. Let them come into the cities, he ordered. Give them what they expect. The human forces retreated as planned, pulling back into urban areas. The Valthari followed, confident that their superior technology would make quick work of any resistance. They entered Seoul's outer districts expecting a final battle. Instead, they found a nightmare. The buildings had been prepared for weeks. Every structure was trapped, every street a kill zone. When the alien forces reached the city center, General Bae gave the signal. The city exploded into violence. Mines detonated beneath alien war machines, flipping them over or blowing off their legs. Soldiers hiding in buildings opened fire from windows and rooftops, then disappeared into tunnels before the Valthari could respond. Human fighters used the underground subway system to move between positions, appearing where the aliens least expected them. Lieutenant Rin Sola led her special operations team through the chaos. They had been fighting in these streets for 2 days without rest. Her unit specialized in guerrilla warfare, and they had turned the city into their hunting ground. They would strike hard, kill as many aliens as possible, then vanish before reinforcements arrived. Team 2, place charges on that supply depot, she commanded through her radio. Team 3, prepare to ambush their reinforcement column. The Valthari were learning too slowly. They tried to adapt their tactics, but every change revealed a new trap. When they stopped using the main roads, the buildings collapsed on them. When they tried to clear buildings systematically, snipers picked off their officers. When they called for air support, human anti-aircraft weapons tore their ships from the sky. Above the battle, Major J. Woo Jin coordinated the orbital bombardment from Luna Station. His weapons platforms circled the Earth, targeting Valthari landing zones and supply lines. Every time the aliens tried to reinforce their ground troops, his railguns turned their dropships into falling debris. "Target acquired," one of his gunners reported. "Valthari carrier approaching over the Pacific." "Fire," Woo Jin ordered without hesitation. The railgun shot crossed the distance in seconds. The tungsten projectile hit the alien carrier at a significant fraction of light speed, punching through its shields and armor like paper. The ship broke apart, scattering wreckage across 100 kilometers of ocean. Dr. Sung Min-ho worked in a medical facility that had become an interrogation center. More captured Valthari arrived every day, wounded and confused. He treated their injuries while learning everything he could about their species. What he discovered was both fascinating and useful. The Valthari were not individuals in the way humans understood. They were connected through a biological network, a hive mind that allowed them to coordinate perfectly but made them dependent on their command structure. Their leaders made all the important decisions, and the soldiers simply followed orders without question. "This is their weakness," Min-ho explained to Commander Tai Quan during a briefing. "They can't adapt quickly at the individual level. They need orders from above. If we can disrupt their command structure, their entire force becomes disorganized." Tai Quan studied the data carefully. "Can we target their commanders?" "Yes," Min-ho confirmed. "They broadcast on specific frequencies to maintain the hive connection. We can track those signals." This information changed everything. Within hours, every human unit had orders to prioritize enemy commanders, kill the leaders, and the soldiers became easy targets. In Seoul, the battle reached its peak. 3 full Valthari battalions had pushed into the city center, expecting to crush the human resistance through sheer numbers. Instead, they found themselves trapped. General Bay had deliberately drawn them in, using fake retreats and weak defensive positions to lure them deeper into the urban maze. When the aliens were fully committed, he sprang the trap. Explosives planted throughout the city detonated in a carefully timed sequence. Buildings collapsed, blocking every exit route. The Valthari forces found themselves in a pocket with no way out and human soldiers on all sides. What followed was not a battle, but a massacre. Lieutenant Rin Sola's team hunted the alien commanders using the frequency data that Dr. Min-ho had provided. They moved through the rubble like ghosts, killing officers and disrupting the hive mind's control. Without clear orders, the Valthari soldiers became confused and disorganized. Some tried to fight, others tried to flee, but there was nowhere to go. By the time the sun rose the next morning, 3 alien battalions had ceased to exist. The survivors were captured and sent to interrogation facilities. Human casualties were surprisingly light. General Bay's tactics had worked perfectly. Similar battles played out across the globe. In North America, human forces used the Rocky Mountains as a fortress, ambushing alien forces in narrow valleys. In Europe, urban warfare specialists turned ancient cities into death traps that even the Valthari's advanced technology could not overcome. In Africa, desert fighters used the harsh terrain to their advantage, striking at night and disappearing into the wasteland. Everywhere the Valthari landed, they found enemies who refused to fight fair. Humans used poison, traps, ambushes, and psychological warfare. They targeted supply lines, destroyed communication equipment, and turned the aliens' own weapons against them. Every tactic that humanity had developed through decades of fighting each other was now used against the invaders. Captain Jihana flew mission after mission, her squadron growing smaller with each battle. They lost good pilots, but they destroyed 10 alien ships for every fighter they lost. Her aircraft were covered in kill marks, crude paintings that showed how many enemy vessels she had shot down. She had stopped counting after 50. "Command, this is Raptor Leader," she reported after another successful strike. "Enemy bomber formation destroyed. Returning to base for rearm." "Copy that, Raptor Leader," Taekwon's voice responded. "Good work. We need you back in the air in 30 minutes. New targets incoming." There was no rest. The war continued day and night, but the humans showed no signs of breaking. If anything, they fought harder as the days passed. The Valthari had awakened something primal in humanity, a survival instinct that made them absolutely ruthless. In space, the Valthari leader Quorath watched the tactical displays with growing concern. His forces were suffering casualties at an unprecedented rate. Entire battalions disappeared within hours of landing. Supply ships never reached their destinations. Command vessels were being hunted and destroyed by human special forces. He sent a desperate message back to the collective's main fleet, thousands of light years away. "Request immediate reinforcements," he transmitted. "Human resistance is beyond projections. They have militarized their entire civilization. They use tactics we have never encountered. They show no fear of death. I repeat, these creatures are extremely dangerous." The response came back days later. The collective had no reinforcements to send. Other campaigns demanded attention. Quorath would have to win with the forces he had. But winning seemed impossible now. Every strategy failed. Every assumption proved wrong. The humans were not fighting to survive. They were fighting to win, and they had the skills and determination to do it. Commander Taekwon stood before a map of Earth, watching the red markers that showed Valthari positions shrinking day by day. His officers worked around him, coordinating the global defense, but Taekwon was already thinking ahead. "We've proven we can defend our world," he said to General Bay. "Now we need to take this war to them." Bay nodded. "You're thinking of going on the offensive?" "Yes," Taekwon confirmed. "They came to conquer us. Let's show them what conquest really looks like." Engineer Nadaiho had not slept in 3 days. Around him, dozens of scientists and technicians worked in the massive hangar where they had brought captured Valthari technology. Ships, weapons, armor, and strange devices covered every surface. Daiho's job was simple but crucial. Figure out how it all worked and make it better. "The shield generators use a quantum field," he explained to Commander Taekwon during an inspection. "It's more advanced than anything we have, but the principles are sound. I can reverse engineer it." "How long?" Taekwon asked. 2 weeks for a working prototype," Daiho replied. "Maybe less if we skip the safety tests." "Skip them," Taekwon ordered. "We don't have time for caution." Across the globe, humanity mobilized for a counteroffensive. The defensive war had proven that Earth could not be conquered. Now it was time to prove that the Valthari could be defeated. Admiral Han Yejin assembled the space fleet in lunar orbit, preparing for the largest military operation in human history. She stood on the bridge of the flagship, watching her fleet gather. 50 warships, each one built for the wars between Earth nations, now united under one command. They were smaller than the Valthari vessels, but faster and more maneuverable. Human engineers had also added new weapons based on captured alien technology. "All ships report ready," her tactical officer announced. "Good," Admiral Han said. "Send the coordinates to all captains. We launch in 6 hours." The target was the Valthari mothership, a massive vessel orbiting near the moon. It served as the command center for the entire invasion fleet. Dr. Sung Minho had confirmed that destroying it would cripple the aliens' ability to coordinate their forces. It was also the most heavily defended position in the solar system. Captain Ji Hana prepared her squadron for the attack. They would provide fighter cover for the fleet, keeping enemy ships away from the larger human vessels. Her pilots were exhausted, but they were also hungry for victory. Too many friends had died in the defensive battles. Now it was time to make the aliens pay. "Listen up," she told her squadron during the briefing. "This won't be like the other fights. We're taking the battle to them. They'll have home advantage and superior numbers, but we have something they don't." "What's that, Captain?" a young pilot asked. Ji Hana smiled coldly. "We know how to win fights we shouldn't survive." The fleet launched on schedule, burning toward the Valthari mothership at maximum acceleration. The aliens detected them immediately and sent their own ships to intercept. What followed was the largest space battle in human history. The Valthari formation moved with precision, their vessels coordinating through the hive mind. But Admiral Han had studied their tactics and found patterns. She split her fleet into 3 groups, each attacking from a different angle. The aliens tried to respond, but their formations broke as they attempted to defend against multiple threats. "All ships, focus fire on their command vessels," Han ordered. "Don't waste ammunition on the escorts." Human railguns and missile batteries opened fire, targeting the larger alien ships that broadcast command signals. The Valthari shields held against the first salvos, but human weapons were designed to punch through armor. One by one, the alien command ships suffered critical damage. Captain Ji Hana's fighters dove into the battle, engaging enemy interceptors. The alien ships were faster in a straight line, but human fighters could turn sharper and react quicker. Ji Hana used this advantage, leading enemy ships into traps where her squadron could strike from multiple angles. "Raptor 3, on your 6!" she called out, seeing one of her pilots in trouble. "I see it," the pilot responded, pulling his fighter into a tight spiral that the alien ship couldn't match. The Valthari vessel overshot, and another human fighter destroyed it with a well-placed missile. The battle lasted for 8 hours. Ships on both sides burned and died in the cold vacuum of space. But slowly, inevitably, the human fleet pushed forward. Admiral Han's flagship took heavy damage, but she refused to retreat. When one weapon system failed, she switched to another. When shields went down, she ordered evasive maneuvers. "All batteries concentrate on the mothership," she commanded, as her fleet broke through the defensive screen. "Hit them with everything we have." The Valthari mothership was enormous, 5 kilometers long and covered in weapons. But it was also slow and designed for command rather than combat. Human ships swarmed around it like angry insects, firing at point-blank range. Explosions rippled across the alien vessel's hull as armor failed and systems overloaded. On Earth, Lieutenant Rin Sola led a covert mission that would determine the outcome of the war. Her special operations team had discovered something crucial. The Valthari had established a command center on Mars. It coordinated the entire invasion and served as a backup if the mothership fell. "We need to take it out," General Bay had told her during the mission briefing. "But it's defended by their best troops and located in the most difficult terrain on Mars." "Then we'll just have to be better," Rin replied simply. Her team traveled to Mars on a fast transport, arriving 3 days before the space battle began. They landed far from the alien base and made their way across the Martian desert on foot, carrying enough equipment to fight a small war. The journey took 2 days through hostile territory filled with alien patrols. When they reached the Valthari command center, Rin studied it carefully through her scope. The facility was built into the side of a massive canyon, protected by energy shields and automated defenses. At least 300 alien soldiers guarded it, along with war machines that patrolled the perimeter. "This is suicide," one of her team members whispered. "Maybe," Rin agreed. "But we're going to do it anyway." She had brought something special for this mission: experimental EMP devices that engineer Nadaiho had created. They were based on Valthari technology, but modified to specifically disrupt the hive mind's communication network. If they worked, the aliens would lose coordination right when the space battle reached its peak. The attack began at midnight Martian time. Rin's team split into 4 groups, each targeting a different section of the base's defenses. They moved silently through the dark, placing charges on shield generators and power stations. When everything was ready, Rin gave the signal. The explosions lit up the Martian night. Shield generators overloaded and exploded. Power systems failed, plunging parts of the base into darkness. The Valthari defenders reacted quickly, but they were confused and disorganized. The humans had struck in multiple places at once, and they couldn't tell where the main attack was coming from. Rin's team fought their way deeper into the facility, using the chaos to their advantage. They moved through corridors, killing alien guards and destroying communication equipment. The fighting was brutal and close range, exactly the kind of combat where human training excelled. They reached the Central Command Nexus after 30 minutes of continuous fighting. Rin planted the EMP devices, while her team held off the alien reinforcements. The countdown started. 60 seconds. "Time to go!" she shouted, and her team ran for the nearest exit. The EMP detonated just as they reached the surface. A pulse of electromagnetic energy spread through the Valthari facility, overloading every electronic system and disrupting the biological network that connected the hive mind. For the first time in their history, the Valthari soldiers were alone in their own heads. The effect was immediate and devastating. Across the solar system, alien forces lost coordination. Ships that had moved with precision now drifted or collided with each other. Soldiers who had fought with perfect teamwork became confused individuals who didn't know what to do. Admiral Han saw the change on her tactical displays. The enemy fleet's formation collapsed. Ships that had been supporting each other now operated independently, making them easy targets. "All ships, press the attack," she ordered. "Don't give them time to recover." The human fleet surged forward, destroying the disorganized Valthari vessels. The mothership tried to retreat, but it was too damaged and too slow. Human railgun fire tore through its remaining armor, and secondary explosions ripped the massive ship apart from the inside. Captain Jihana watched the mothership die, a smile on her tired face. Around her, the remaining alien ships were either fleeing or being destroyed. The battle was won. On Mars, Lieutenant Rin Sola and her team made their way back to their transport ship. They had lost 2 people in the fight, but they had succeeded. The Valthari command structure was destroyed, and the invasion was broken. Commander Tai Quan received the reports from both fronts within an hour. The mothership destroyed, the Mars facility offline, enemy forces across the solar system in disarray. After months of defensive fighting, humanity had struck back and won a decisive victory. "Send a message to all Valthari forces," he ordered. "Tell them they have 24 hours to surrender. After that, we hunt down every single ship and soldier." The tide of war had turned. The invaders were now the prey. The Valthari did not surrender. Despite losing their mothership and command center, the remaining forces regrouped and fortified their positions across Mars. They had nowhere to run. Their fleet was destroyed, and reinforcements would not arrive for months, so they chose to fight to the death, gathering in the vast canyons of Valles Marineris, where they had built their largest base. Commander Tai Quan studied the intelligence reports with General Bei Hyunwoo. The alien stronghold was massive, carved deep into the Martian rock and protected by every weapon the Valthari possessed. An estimated 5,000 alien soldiers defended it, along with war machines, automated defenses, and enough supplies to last for years. "They want us to come to them," General Bay observed. "They know they can't win, but they want to make us pay for every meter we take." "Then we'll pay," Tae Kwon replied. "Assemble the assault force. We end this now." Operation Retribution began 2 weeks later. Humanity gathered its largest military force since the war began. 10,000 soldiers, supported by tanks, aircraft, and orbital weapons, prepared to assault the Valthari fortress. They came from every nation on Earth, united in their determination to finish what the aliens had started. Captain Ji Hana's expanded air wing would provide support from above. Her fighters had been modified with captured Valthari technology, giving them better shields and weapons. She had trained new pilots to replace those lost in previous battles, and they were eager to prove themselves. "Remember," she told them during the final briefing, "the Valthari are desperate. That makes them dangerous. Stay focused, watch your wingmates, and don't take unnecessary risks." Lieutenant Rin Sola prepared her Special Forces team for infiltration. While the main army attacked from the front, her unit would slip inside the fortress and strike at critical systems. It was the same tactic that had worked on the Mars Command Center, but this time the aliens would be ready for it. "Expect heavy resistance," she warned her soldiers. "They know we're coming, and they've had time to prepare. But we have one advantage. We're better at this than they are." Major Jae Woo-jin positioned his orbital weapons platforms above the battlefield. His railguns and missile batteries would provide fire support, but they had to be careful. Too much bombardment might collapse the canyon and trap human forces inside. It would be a delicate balance between overwhelming firepower and precision strikes. The assault began at dawn on Mars. Human artillery opened fire first, pounding the Valthari defensive positions with high-explosive shells. The aliens responded with energy weapons that carved glowing lines through the thin Martian atmosphere. Both sides knew this would be the final battle, and neither was willing to hold anything back. General Bae Hyun-woo led the ground forces personally. He rode in the command vehicle at the front of the assault column, directing the attack in real time. His tanks pushed forward, trading fire with alien war machines. His infantry advanced behind armored shields, fighting for every meter of ground. The Valthari had learned from their defeats. They no longer relied on their hive mind for coordination. Instead, they fought with the desperation of soldiers who knew they were going to die. They turned every defensive position into a killing ground, forcing the humans to pay in blood for every advance. Captain Ji Hana's fighters screamed overhead, engaging alien anti-aircraft positions. She lost 3 pilots in the first hour, watching their fighters explode under concentrated fire. But her squadron kept attacking, silencing the defenses one by one. Each gun they destroyed made it safer for the ground troops below. "Raptor Leader, we have enemy reinforcements coming from the South Canyon," her tactical officer reported. "I see them," Ji Hana replied, banking her fighter toward the new threat. "All units, follow me. We're not letting anything reach our ground forces." The air battle intensified. Valthari ships launched from hidden hangars, their pilots determined to stop the human advance. But they were outnumbered and fighting against pilots who had survived months of continuous combat. Ji Hana's squadron tore through them with practiced efficiency. On the ground, Lieutenant Rin Sola's team had penetrated the outer defenses and entered the fortress. They moved through dark corridors, fighting past automated defenses and desperate alien soldiers. Every room was a potential ambush. Every corner could hide death. "Contact front!" one of her soldiers shouted, opening fire at a group of Valthari defenders. The team fought their way deeper into the complex, following maps that Dr. Sung Minho had created from captured data. Their target was the fortress's power core. If they could destroy it, the entire base would go dark, and the defenses would fail. They lost soldiers along the way, Good people who had fought through the entire war, cut down by enemy fire in the darkness. But Rin kept pushing forward. They were too close to stop now. Above the battle, Major J. Woo-jin tracked the assault's progress from his command center. He had authorization to use orbital bombardment, but only if absolutely necessary. The canyon walls were unstable, and too much firepower could cause a massive collapse. "Sir, General Bay is requesting fire support on Grid 77 Alpha," his officer reported. "Enemy position is holding up the advance." Woo-jin studied the coordinates carefully. It was close to the canyon wall, but far enough to be safe. "Approved. Single railgun shot. Reduced power." The tungsten projectile fell from orbit like the fist of an angry god. It struck the Valthari position with pinpoint accuracy, vaporizing the defense emplacement and opening a path for the human advance. But it also triggered a small rock slide that forced part of the assault force to take a different route. The battle raged for 24 hours without pause. Human forces pushed deeper into the fortress, clearing rooms and corridors in brutal close-quarters combat. The Valthari fought with fanatic determination, making the humans pay for every meter. Bodies from both sides filled the corridors. Dr. Sung Minho worked in a field hospital established near the battle lines. The wounded came in a steady stream, human and alien alike. He treated them all with equal care, even as the sound of gunfire echoed through the canyon. His medical skills, developed during years of war, were pushed to their limits. "Doctor, we need you at triage," a nurse called out. "Multiple critical casualties incoming." Minho moved to help, his hands steady despite the exhaustion. Around him, other doctors and medics worked without rest. This was what war looked like up close: blood, pain, and desperate attempts to save lives while others fought to take them. Lieutenant Rin Sola's team reached the power core after 16 hours of fighting. They had started with 20 soldiers. Only 8 remained. But they had made it. The core room was massive, filled with Valthari technology that hummed with energy. "Place the charges," Rin ordered, standing guard while her demolitions expert worked. The Valthari knew what they were doing. Enemy soldiers poured into the room, determined to stop the sabotage. Rin's team held them off, their weapons blazing in the confined space. 2 more soldiers fell, but the charges were set. "Charges armed," the demolitions expert reported. 2 minutes to detonation. "Move!" Rin shouted, and her team ran for the exit. They made it 50 meters before the charges exploded. The power core overloaded in a cascade failure that spread through the entire fortress. Lights died, shields failed, automated defenses shut down. The Valthari stronghold went dark. General Bae Hyun-woo saw the change immediately. The enemy's defensive fire slackened as their weapons lost power. He seized the opportunity, ordering his forces to push forward with everything they had. "All units advance! Don't give them time to recover!" Human tanks rolled through breaches in the walls. Infantry stormed defensive positions. The Valthari fought back with whatever weapons still worked, but they were overwhelmed. The fortress that was supposed to be impregnable fell in less than an hour. Commander Tae Kwon watched from orbit as the battle reached its conclusion. The tactical displays showed human forces securing the last sections of the fortress. Valthari resistance was collapsing across the entire complex. After 72 hours of continuous fighting, the siege was over. "Sir, General Bae reports the fortress is secure," his communication officer announced. "Enemy forces are either dead or surrendering." Tae Kwon allowed himself a moment of relief. The cost had been terrible. 2,000 human soldiers dead, 3,000 more wounded. But they had won. The Valthari invasion was broken completely. He ordered a channel open to the surviving aliens. "This is Commander Tae Kwon of the United Earth Defense Force. Your invasion has failed. Your fleets are destroyed. Your bases are captured. You have one choice remaining: Surrender now, and we will treat you fairly under the laws of war. Refuse, and we will hunt down every last one of you." The response came an hour later. The Valthari leader, Quorath, spoke with a voice full of defeat. "We surrender. We request terms." Humanity had won its war for survival, but what came next would determine the future of both species. The surrender negotiations took place on a neutral station orbiting Earth. Commander Tae Kwan and General Bae Hyunwoo represented humanity. Across the table sat Quorath and two other Valthari leaders, their four-armed bodies hunched in defeat. The aliens who had come to conquer Earth now begged for mercy. "State your terms," Quorath said through his translator. His voice carried no arrogance now, only exhaustion. Tai Quan looked at the alien leader for a long moment before speaking. "Before we discuss terms, I want to understand something. Why did you come here? What made you think you could conquer Earth?" Quorath's expression was unreadable, but his words were honest. "We have conquered 17 worlds without significant resistance. Most species surrendered when they saw our fleet. Those who fought lacked the weapons or organization to resist effectively. Your world appeared no different from the others. We were wrong." "Very wrong," General Bae added coldly. "You invaded a planet where war is a way of life. We've been fighting each other for decades. Every soldier, every pilot, every commander has been trained in real combat. You thought you would find easy prey. You found hunters instead." Dr. Sung Min-ho entered the room, carrying data tablets with information he had gathered from captured Valthari. He had spent weeks interviewing aliens, learning about their society and motivations. What he discovered changed the negotiation completely. "Commander, there's something you need to know," Min-ho said, handing over a tablet. "The Valthari didn't come here for conquest alone. They were running away." Tae Kwan read the information quickly, his expression darkening. "Explain," Quorath answered before Min-ho could speak. "In our region of space, there is a threat far greater than us. An enemy we call the Devourers. They consume entire star systems, leaving nothing behind. We fled our homeworld 30 cycles ago. We have been searching for resources and worlds to colonize ever since. We chose yours because it appeared defensible and rich in materials." "So you decided to take our world because you couldn't defend your own," General Bae said, his voice filled with contempt. "Yes," Quorath admitted. "It was desperation, not malice, that brought us here. But the result is the same. We failed, and now we face judgment." The room fell silent. Commander Tae Kwan considered the new information carefully. The Valthari were refugees, not conquerors, though that did not excuse their actions. They had still invaded Earth, killed humans, and tried to enslave humanity. But there was a larger picture to consider. "What about these Devourers?" Tae Kwan asked. "How dangerous are they?" "They destroyed our entire civilization in less than a year," Quorath replied. "We were advanced, peaceful, and completely unprepared for such an enemy. They will continue to spread, consuming everything in their path. Eventually, they will reach this sector of space." Admiral Han Yejin joined the meeting, bringing news from the fleet. Her ships had been investigating the outer solar system and found evidence of Valthari scout vessels. They carried warnings about the approaching threat, messages that had never been delivered to Earth because the invasion began first. "The data confirms their story," Admiral Han reported. "There are distress signals from multiple species all warning about the same enemy. Whatever these Devourers are, they're real and they're coming." The negotiation took a new turn. Humanity faced a choice: destroy the Valthari completely for their attempted invasion, or find a way to turn enemies into allies against a greater threat. The debate within the human leadership was intense. Captain Ji Hana spoke for many soldiers who wanted revenge. "They came to our world and killed our people. Why should we show them mercy when they would have shown us none?" Lieutenant Rin Sola, who had lost teammates in the fighting, added her voice. "We won this war through strength. If we let them surrender without consequences, what message does that send to the galaxy?" But Dr. Sung Minho argued for a different approach. "We've proven we can win wars. Now we need to prove we can win the peace. The Valthari have technology and knowledge we can use. More importantly, they know our real enemy. We should not become the monsters we fought against." Engineer Nadaiho supported this view from a practical standpoint. Their ships, their weapons, their scientific knowledge could advance our technology by decades. We spent months reverse engineering their basic systems. Imagine what we could do with their full cooperation. The debate continued for 3 days. Finally, Commander Tae Kwan made his decision. He had been given the authority by the United Earth Council to determine the terms of surrender, and he chose a path that balanced justice with pragmatism. "These are our terms," he told Quorath. "First, the Valthari Collective will surrender all military assets to human control. Your ships, weapons, and technology belong to Earth now. Second, you will share all knowledge about the Devourers and any other threats in this region of space. Third, your people will work alongside humanity to prepare for the coming enemy. You will serve as advisors, technicians, and soldiers under human command. Fourth, reparations will be paid to the families of every human killed in this war. And finally, the galaxy will know what happened here. We will broadcast the story of your defeat across every frequency your people use. Anyone who thinks about invading Earth will learn from your mistake." Quorath listened to the terms, then bowed his head. "We accept. We have no other choice." "You're right," Taekwon agreed. "You don't." The formal surrender was signed 1 week later. The Valthari who survived the war were given the choice to return to their refugee fleet or stay and work with humanity. Most chose to stay, knowing they had nowhere else to go. They became a permanent presence on Earth and Mars, their technology and knowledge absorbed into human civilization. Captain Ji Hana returned to Earth, her squadron reduced to a handful of surviving pilots. She was given medals and honors, but they felt hollow. Too many friends had died. She spent her time training the next generation of pilots, passing on the lessons bought with blood. "Remember," she told her students, "we didn't win because we had better technology. We won because we refused to give up, and because we knew how to fight. Never forget that." Lieutenant Rin Sola took a position training special forces, teaching young soldiers the guerrilla warfare tactics that had proven so effective. She carried the names of her fallen teammates on a memorial tag, never letting herself forget the cost of victory. Engineer Na Daeho led the effort to integrate Valthari technology with human designs. Within a year, Earth's fleet was twice as powerful as before, combining the best of both species' engineering. His hybrid ships would become the foundation of humanity's defense against future threats. Admiral Han Yejin oversaw the construction of new vessels designed for deep space operations. Earth would no longer be content to defend the solar system. Humanity would patrol the stars, watching for threats and making sure everyone knew that Earth was protected. General Bae Hyunwoo retired from active duty but served as an advisor to the UEDF. His tactical genius had saved countless lives, and his strategies were studied by military academies across the globe. He spent his remaining years writing about the war, ensuring that future generations would understand both the victories and the costs. Dr. Sung Minho continued his work studying alien species, including the Valthari now living among humans. He became humanity's chief xenobiologist, preparing Earth for the day when other species would make contact. He hoped that next time it would be peaceful, but he helped prepare for the possibility that it would not be. Commander Tae Kwan stood before the United Earth Council one final time, delivering a report on the war and its aftermath. The chamber was filled with representatives from every nation, united in a way that would have been impossible before the invasion. "The Valthari came to our world expecting easy victory," he said. They found a species that had been fighting itself for decades and had become very good at war. We defeated them not through superior technology, but through superior training, tactics, and determination. We showed the galaxy that humanity is not prey. We are predators. We are warriors. And we will never surrender. He paused, looking at the faces of those who would lead humanity into its future among the stars. But we must also be more than warriors, he continued. We must be builders, diplomats, and explorers. The Valthari warned us about the Devourers, and intelligence suggests other threats exist. We cannot afford to be caught unprepared again. Earth must be ready for anything. The Council voted unanimously to expand the UEDF, increase military spending, and establish human presence throughout the solar system. Colony ships were commissioned, new weapons were designed, alliances were formed with the remnants of the Valthari collective. On the anniversary of the invasion's first day, humanity broadcast a message to the galaxy. It was transmitted on every frequency, in every language that the Valthari had encountered. The message was simple and clear. Dr. Sung Minho stood before the cameras to deliver it, speaking for all of Earth. This message is for anyone listening across the stars. We are humanity, inhabitants of the planet Earth. 1 year ago, the Valthari collective invaded our world, expecting conquest. They believed we were weak and unprepared. They were wrong. We are a species born in conflict, hardened by decades of war among ourselves. When we united against a common enemy, we became unstoppable. The Valthari learned this truth too late. We hope others will learn from their example. The message continued, detailing the battles and showing footage of the war. It showed human forces defeating the aliens again and again. It showed the siege of Mars and the final surrender. It was designed to make one thing absolutely clear: Earth was not to be trifled with. We offer peace to those who approach us peacefully, Minho concluded. We offer knowledge to those who seek to share. But to anyone who comes as invaders, we offer only one promise. You will face the full fury of a species that knows nothing but war. You will face humanity, and you will lose. The broadcast ended. Across the solar system, humans returned to their lives. They rebuilt the cities damaged in the fighting. They mourned their dead. They celebrated their victory. And they prepared for whatever came next, knowing that they had proven something important. Humanity could stand against the darkness. Humanity could fight and win. Humanity would survive no matter what the galaxy threw at them. The invaders had learned this lesson. The next ones would too, if necessary. But hopefully, the message would be clear enough that it would never be necessary again. Earth stood ready, battle-hardened and unbroken, a beacon of strength among the stars.